Hello and welcome to Spartan Life Radio on a Sunday afternoon, 12 noon. You all tell your friends we do this every Sunday. This is where I come and I learn. It's like my lab. I learn about people. I learn about ideas, thoughts, creative ideas, opportunities. I learn about events that are taking place. So it's like one of my favorite hours of the week. We welcome to Spartan Life Radio, Gilbert Plan. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning. I am well. It's a privilege to speak with you today.
Well, I got some questions that I'm going to ask you, and we're going to take the next 30 minutes together and go through some of those questions, okay?
I look forward to it.
All right. So my first directive is we need you to tell everybody who you are and what role you serve with the Urban League.
Okay. My name is Gil Bland, and I am the president and CEO of the Urban League. I also am an entrepreneur, owning businesses for the past several decades in the Hampton Roads area and throughout Virginia, and have been with the Urban League for the past 4 years in the role of president and CEO.
What drew you to the Urban League?
Well, it was an opportunity. I believe in service. The old saying that it's the rent we pay for living
yes.
On this planet. And I believe in service. And I think few organizations better personify the ideals of service to our community and to our residents, particularly our residents who are having some challenges, than the Urban League. The Urban League has fulfilled this mission since 1910 on a national basis, and Hampton Roads, our affiliate, which is one of 90 affiliates across the nation, has been in operation since 1978. So both nationally and locally, we've been at this a long time, and it's rewarding to us as staff and administration of the Urban League, and hopefully, we're beginning to see some tangible results in our community.
So a little bit later,
we do this through collaboration with many, many like-minded people and organizations. We certainly don't make any effort to say that this is a solo mission that we're doing by ourselves. It's a team effort.
So we are going to get into some of the programs and services, but first, so I think what I'm hearing from you is you chose the Urban League and they chose you at the same time, huh?
I think that's right. My own background, I've been in the community for a while now. I won't say how long, but for a while. And,
okay.
I've been involved in a lot of civic activities locally, regionally, as well as statewide and nationally, and was able to bring some of my professional associations to the table to help in raising funds in order to support the programs, as well as decades of business experience in the private sector.
So where does
this
come?
My first time working in the nonprofit sector. In this role, but I've served on nonprofit boards for a range of activities and a range of sizes for some period of time. So, I humbly say I bring a lot of experience to the table.
So if I dig deep, if I do a Henry Louis Gates on you, and I dig back into your background, where does this service module come from? You clearly understand it. You clearly exhibit it. Where does it come from? Great-grandma, grandma, mom and dad, aunties? Who did you see in your family doing this? How have you picked up this mantle?
Well, I'm old enough to have been born in the Jim Crow era, and also in rural Virginia. So it was limited in terms of seeing people in our community, on a very broad basis of providing this. But in my household, my parents, like many black parents at that time, were wedded to their church, and I saw them provide countless hours. My mom was a pianist for 70 years.
Oh, my goodness. Did you say 70?
70 years he was a pianist. My father was chairman of the trustee board, and you just continue to see that kind of volunteer effort, and it influenced what I wanted to do. But also, being a child growing up in the '60s and seeing and feeling the fruits as well as the labors and challenges and frankly problems of the civil rights movement, it influenced me. I ended up after college living in Atlanta, which is kind of the birthplace of the civil rights movement, just years after Dr. King was assassinated, and the spirit was alive and well. I then moved to Chicago, where there is a black entrepreneurial class like none other in the country, which was also a tremendous influence. So, I think the benefit of all of these combined experiences, influenced my life. My HBCU professors were marvelous in being role models and stating that we need to give back, and I believe in that.
And where did you go to school?
I went to school at James Madison University for undergrad and Atlanta University for master's in business administration.
Wonderful, wonderful. My brother went to JMU. Okay, so talking about the Urban League now, I know you have many different programs and many different services that you provide to the community. So we'll go through them, and I'll try to do them in an orderly manner. Can you first talk to us about education and the Urban League?
Well, as a broad concept, the notion is that every child should be ready for college, work, and life. With that as a framework, we get involved in mentoring programs. We work with collaboration with school systems and the faith-based community in their initiatives and try to support them either through volunteers or even in contributions. But specifically, we adopted several years ago a national Urban League program called Project Ready, and that is targeted to youth ages 12 to 19. And again, it's to make sure they're ready for college, work, and life. And we have, I think, 3 schools. We eventually plan to roll this out to all of Hampton Roads region. And we think that, at least let me say this, for me personally, if there's any legacy that I can be in partnership with, it would be the legacy of passing the baton of preparing children to be ready for life. For me, education was the gateway from rural Virginia to the opportunities that I've been afforded.
And I guess I'm gonna pick your brain about that education. Education is the way, you said. Are there other ways? Can you tell when you have these young people come to you? Can you tell? Well, maybe education isn't for them, but so-and-so is for them. Can you tell, and are there other ways other than education?
Well, indeed. And, I think education as a start point not only impacts career and life trajectory, it makes you a exposed citizen, ready to partake in all the opportunities in a community. It adds a lot of value to life beyond just career opportunities. But within career opportunities, for example, I was several years ago chairman of the State Council of Higher Education in Virginia. It's known as SHEV, and they're the coordinating body for all the colleges in the state of Virginia. And we did a study and really a strategic blueprint for the Commonwealth of Virginia in higher education, and found out that 60% of future jobs do not require a baccalaureate degree.
Oh, my goodness, 60%
of future jobs. So vocational training is a wonderful way and to hold your head high and also even make a lot of money if money is your measurement, and it is a part of living. But vocational training in lieu of pursuing an academic degree at a higher ed institution is certainly acceptable. Certificates certification, licensing that's done at our wonderful community colleges is yet another route.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's fair to say that in an increasingly technologically savvy world, a high school diploma is necessary.
A high school diploma. And I sort of...
It is really just the basics of being able to keep up with how rapidly the world is evolving. I mean, so many careers. For example, in the early 1990s, everyone talked about computer science, whatever that meant. And those jobs have become technologically obsolescent. So, the ability to become a learner, a lifetime learner, to be able to adapt to a changing and evolving environment, I think are critical.
And, that leads my brain to, and I don't know if you'd finish with the educational component, but that brings me up. You
said, how do you determine? I don't know that it's our job to determine. I think it's our job to, maybe turn on the light, if you will, to say this is an opportunity, and if you want to pursue it, we're going to walk with you hand in hand, step by step, to help you get there.
Okay.
If you choose a different alternative, we'll stand beside you there too. It's not our role, in my opinion, to choose a career or life pursuit for a young person, but we want to make them aware of the opportunities and that they can be, properly prepared to pursue those opportunities.
I'm wondering what
in many instances, it's a function of broadband access, of living conditions, et cetera, that have, kind of blocked the opportunity. There was a book that I referenced, the president of UVA wrote, something to the effect of 5 miles apart, a world away, and I'm probably paraphrasing the title, but it was simply the notion of, in the city of Richmond, if you study urban school conditions versus suburban school conditions, there are dramatic differences. Mm-hmm. And our goal and privilege as Urban League is to help bridge those opportunities.
Okay. And does it ever come into play or thought about the fact that, oh my goodness, we get into such debt when we go to these colleges and universities, and then that's another whole hurdle that we are trying to get over after we've graduated, and we're trying to live this American dream, but we've already started out with this $100,000 worth of debt.
Well, I will never minimize the impact of college affordability. In fact, I serve on a board that addresses that very issue. It's critical that colleges are affordable. But with that said, there are opportunities, depending on your family's financial condition, for grants and low-cost loans, and I'm not suggesting that one become indebted. But you also have to look at the relative amount of debt. In some instances, I'll be more specific. In Virginia, it's estimated that the average student will come out with maybe $28,000 to $30,000 of college debt. That's the cost of probably a medium-sized automobile.
Sure.
But you're prepared for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And lifetime earnings of college graduates, if you pursue the college route, is significantly higher than most non-college graduates. Mm-hmm. So, that $30,000, I think, needs to be viewed in relationship to earnings over a lifetime.
Earnings over a lifetime. And do you think, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but do you think that anything will be done federally about student debt? We hear about it. It's always in the headlines, but nothing has been done as far as reducing it or erasing it or anything. Do you have a crystal ball on that?
I don't.
No crystal ball. Okay.
I won't even hazard a guess. I serve on the State Chamber of Commerce Board, and we understand college indebtedness on a different level. For students coming out of school with enormous debt loads, some careers greater than others, those who are going to professional schools and medicine and becoming lawyers have a great deal of debt. But what it does, it has a crippling effect on young people being able to buy their first home or to invest in an entrepreneurial business, because all their earnings are going toward paying back school debt. And if folks aren't buying homes and aren't investing in businesses, that's not the sign of a healthy and vibrant community.
Yeah.
So it's in everyone's interest to address the issue of college affordability.
Okay, let's talk about the employment programs that you have at the Urban League.
Well, the broad notion is that all of our citizens should have access to jobs with a living wage and good benefits. We work with a number of businesses to provide opportunities to screen. I've had several meetings just in the past few weeks with those interested in jobs with the Port of Virginia or anything related to shipbuilding and port activity, a wide range of high-paying opportunities. So we try to identify those opportunities and help screen, going back to the educational part, preparation for those jobs. Mm-hmm. So that's really where we attempt to address, to identify the opportunities, screen folks, communicate the opportunities, and to help ensure that they're prepared.
If you are just joining us, I am speaking today with Gil Bland. He's president of the Urban League, giving us a rundown on what is going on within the Urban League itself. You may, Urban League. Oh, yeah, what are they doing? Well, today's show is dedicated to exactly what they're doing. And also later on, we're going to let you know how you can be involved with that. So, yes. Okay, so we talked about a couple of things. Let's talk about your entrepreneurship programs.
Well, it's in that same regard. Entrepreneurship is an interesting concept, and I've been an entrepreneur for decades.
Did you always know you were going to be one?
I did not.
Okay.
I grew up, again, in rural Virginia, and in my instance, my father, due to the times, dropped out of school in 7th grade. And he eventually became a carpenter, which was, a very wonderful opportunity for him, but not necessarily entrepreneurial. Again, due to the times, my mom was a high school valedictorian, ended up being a domestic worker all of her life because of the times that we lived in. So, no, I did not always know I was going to be entrepreneurship. It became more crystallized when I went to grad school to get a advanced business degree, and a number of my professors suggested that we pursue that route. But they also suggested preparation because it's far too easy just to want to be an entrepreneur and not understand what being an entrepreneur is all about. You have to have a skill to be an entrepreneur. Whatever your business may be, you need to have experience in that business. It would be helpful if you had experience in managing that business with accounting and finance and human resources. And I, personally, never would advise not to become entrepreneur immediately if you know that is your desire and you feel that you're ready for that with capital and with experience. But in my instance, I became a banker and loaned money to businesses for a number of years, and I also had business degrees, and I had opportunity to learn a lot about business from being a banker to commercial businesses, and that gave me a sense of how to set up my business.
Okay.
And, I used to consult with business owners all the time, and, you would say, well, what are the success of business? Well, the top 4 reasons, or of the top 5 reasons that business fails, is improper planning. And planning includes that you're prepared. Planning includes that you have capital, that you have employees, that you have a good location. And it takes experience to know all of that stuff, particularly at a young age. So I always would advise, if you can, get the education, work in other environments where you can learn on someone else's resources. And, this would not necessarily ensure that you're successful, but it certainly gives you an opportunity to go full speed at the opportunity.
Okay. All right. You intrigued me when you said you have to have a skill, but I just want to make sure I get through all the programs, and then maybe I can circle back to that. Let's talk
Okay.
about the financial services and the health
We had
services.
something, well, in financial services, that too is a preparation for life. And we want people of all ages to understand how to manage their finances. Once money is coming into their household, we have something called financial opportunity centers. We have two, one in Norfolk and one in Newport News. And our goal is to help our citizens become financially savvy. And that's the goal of the program, and we do that through a national program, and we do that in partnership with the Hampton Roads Workforce Council.
Is that program only successful if they want it? Is there a way that you can teach them and they understand it, and then they say, okay, I'll do it? Or do they have to come to you already wanting to achieve this goal to be financially savvy?
They come to us.
Okay.
It's one of the things, though, that I'm pleased to see is that the public high schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia are requiring that students take, some basic financial skills so that, they understand the checkbook. Too many folks in our community don't have bank accounts, and they don't have them for a number of reasons, including high fees with some institutions. But we're also advocates for the things that are needed in our community, and we've done advocacy, and banks are responding to that with lower fees or no fees and secured credit cards and other vehicles that would allow folks to have bank accounts, because you don't want your money under your mattress. It's too easy to spend or to lose.
Right. That's right.
Exactly. And, we want to develop a broad range of skills, and we know that we don't do it alone. We do it with the banks and financial institutions, credit unions, and other folks who are like-minded in that regard.
When it comes to the health services that the Urban League is offering, can you inform us about those?
Well, there are one very specific program we've done for well over a decade is involving HIV patients, and we work with them. We are case managers like in any social service agency to help them with their medications and any support services they need. And that's been a very rewarding program, both for us in terms of, intrinsically feeling good that we're doing something for a part of the community that's not always embraced. And it also provides services for them. So we're very embracing of that effort, and we'll continue it. We also, over the past 2 years, because of this pandemic of COVID, we've engaged in great depth with that. And for example, in 2020, when COVID testing first began, it was really, if you can recall, it was drive-through only. Well, there are people in public housing neighborhoods that don't have cars, so drive-through testing wasn't an option. And we worked with Centera Healthcare in particular at that moment to bring testing to those neighborhoods, and we did that across their statewide footprint. We also encourage vaccinations, and I joined with, and again, I want to be real clear, the Urban League is not doing any of this alone. We do it with partners. So in this case, our medical partner was Centera, but we also joined with the faith-based community, and we tried to borrow against their equity of serving folks in the neighborhoods for decades, and they were trusted partners. So, it was not enough for just the Urban League or Centera to say, be COVID tested. We wanted to have people they trust because of historical inequities in the healthcare system that say it's okay to be tested. And that proved to be a good formula. But we also work with other healthcare organizations. We're forming a wonderful partnership with Riverside over on the peninsula. That promises to be a great opportunity. We're excited about that, and they seem to be fully embracing the opportunities to work with us. So, we want to work with all our community partners. We do the same, with banks. We don't single out a single bank. We try to work with all the community leaders, who share these values of service. So back to the point of healthcare. So we were involved with COVID testing and then with vaccinations. And we continue to be advocates, and we continue to hopefully remind as well as challenge our friends and neighbors that being vaccinated is very important. It'll save your life.
It is that. I'm sure this is a big one for the Urban League. Housing programs that you have.
Well, we provided housing counseling to get people ready for a long time. It is a national program. We believe that everyone deserves to live in a safe, decent, affordable, energy-efficient housing opportunity. We believe that, and we do that through counseling. Our work was recognized and awarded a year ago with the Virginia Housing Department.
Wonderful.
Richmond, and they gave us a $2.5 million grant that said anyone that completed our program, while those funds still existed, they would provide mortgage opportunities for them. So it's been a very successful program, and one we're very proud of. A home generally changes a person's attitude about life. Ownership is important, whether it's in business, whether it's in home, whether it's your car. You seem, for most of us, we take a greater pride when we own it, and then we want to protect it and nurture it and build upon it. So we think, and in addition to being a safe place to live, and an opportunity to live in a safe environment. So housing is among the most important things that we will ever be involved with.
How do you become a member of the Urban League? Tell us about this Black Card membership.
Well, the Black Card is a new program that our team designed, and it's kind of patterned after the notion of a credit card, but we will have continued growing list of community partners that will give discounts to those who have the Urban League Black Card. It's also hopefully a sign of pride to our community partners and the people that we provide service to that says we're a part of a movement to help. So it's a tangible program to invite financial assistance to the Urban League, rewards to community members through retail discounts, and an opportunity to join a growing movement of volunteers.
So you get the Black Card.
We have also two affiliate organizations. One is called YP, which is Young Professionals, and that's for folks basically 18 to age 40. And these are the generation that can really begin to prepare to have the baton of leadership passed along to them. And they have any number of programs that work along with us, as well as independent programs. Then we have the Urban League Guild, which are more seasoned citizens, ages 40 plus, and they are also involved in a wide range of volunteer activities.
Okay.
So both as a young professional, ages 18 to 40, and 40 plus for the Urban League Guild.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. That is good to know. How does one become a member of the Urban League?
Well, I would refer you to our website. It's ULHR, Urban League Hampton Roads, ULHR.org. And all that we do is spelled out on our website. It's a wonderful source of information not only about our programs, but about our community, about community leaders. For example, we just recently profiled Justice Bernard Goodwin, who just was elevated to the Chief Justice of the Virginia Supreme Court. We're kicking off a program that will be unveiled very soon for both February and Black History Month, but we will expand it throughout the year to have interviews with community leaders. We're reaching out to a number of well-known business, medical, political leaders, and we'll conduct 10 to 15-minute interviews just to talk about life and opportunities and how and what they're doing, as well as encouragement to others to possibly follow their footsteps.
Wow, you all, Gilbert, you all are doing so much at the Urban League. Again, we've gone through it. And if you did not get it all, like you said, you can go to the website and get it there. But as a side note, you said that you are an entrepreneur here in Hampton Roads, and people have known you for that. And you also said to be an entrepreneur, you need a skill. So I was a little bit curious about that. So if I design a line of greeting cards, or if I design some new technique whereby women get their hair braided, or if I become an entrepreneur selling some accessory for a car that people absolutely fall in love with, is all of that the same skill or not? Is that the same skill we're talking about?
Entrepreneur is both a skill as well as a passion. The last thing, and I say this very carefully because I don't want to offend anyone, but you don't want to be an entrepreneur because you're running away from a job or you're running away from an organization, and you see that as your only way out. It may be an exit, but it could be a very short-lived exit if you're not prepared. So the skills required, depending on what you do. I mean, physicians are entrepreneurs, who they have their own medical practice. Certainly you need to know medicine to open a medical practice, but you also need to know or be able to recognize what you don't know and hire professionals to manage your books, to be a receptionist for patients, to be nurse practitioners and help. I mean, it's understanding whatever your business may be, as a beautician, a barbershop, a restaurant, you might not know how to cook, but you could hire a chef and understand, other aspects of the business. But yes, it definitely requires skill. But the other part of being an entrepreneur, and I think some folks don't understand it, it's a lifestyle. You live your business 24 hours a day.
So that's why some
as
people
say... As an employee,
say...
you may go home at 5. As an entrepreneur, you never go home, figuratively. You may literally go home, but your business is you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for being a guest on Spartan Life Radio. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. I know it's enlightened some eyes. And once again...
I enjoy Spartan Life.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead and give out that website so people can go there and soak up all this information.
We are the Urban League of Hampton Roads. So our website is ulhr.org.
That is wonderful. We appreciate you. We probably will be calling on you in the future, if that's okay.
Thank you. It's a privilege to speak with you and to talk to your many listeners. And we applaud what you do. You're one of the community partners that help us do what we ought to be doing. We can't do it alone. We need a collaboration. We need a team, and we count you as a team member.
Well, I think that I might want to call you in the future and just dig in your brain about your whole entire empire of entrepreneurship that you have built. Can we talk about that one day? Would that be okay? I don't want to be intrusive, but can we do that one day?
Do you know my business?
Yeah, it's a shining example, and people need to know this. See, I have this thing in me that I want to learn about people and their businesses. So what is her name? Her name is Fawn Weaver. Is that it? Uncle Nearest? You know the story I'm talking about? Uncle Nearest, the whiskey?
I do not.
Okay. Okay. But anyway, it doesn't matter. All of you.
I will say this to you,
black
and this
brains,
is
I want to pick them.
I say it only as a privilege. A few months ago, I was inducted into Hampton Roads Business Hall of Fame.
Congratulations!
Well, thank you, and that's a function not just of me, but of many, many team members and family members who we've worked together for years to be successful. And I continue to say this because I think it's so important for our community. Be a part of a team, collaborate. You cannot do it alone because there are going to be days when you're going to fall down, and it's important to know that there's a team there to help pick you up.
Well said. Thank you so much. You take care.
Okay.
We will be calling on that man again. We're thanking Gilbert for joining us today with the Urban League, president of the Urban League. This is Spartan Life Radio. Welcome back to Spartan Life Radio. Cheryl Wilkerson. When I told you we had some heavy hitters on the show today, well, that's every Sunday. I really, really meant it. Now you're going to hear from Heather Wilson. She's with Kennedy's Angel Gowns. Welcome to Spartan Life Radio.
Thank you so very much for having me.
I'm glad you carved out time for us today. So Carolyn told me about all that you are doing, and I just got more and more intrigued. And I'm like, I need to talk to this lady, okay? So tell me, first of all, give me some background on yourself, whatever you want us to know about yourself.
Yeah, so I guess I should start by saying my journey and what we're going to talk about today started in 2009. So my husband and I got married, and we wanted to grow our family. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. We started to grow our family, and I got pregnant. Normally, we did have a little bit of infertility struggles, but nothing compared to women I know who have tried and struggled for years and years. I had what was considered a normal pregnancy. I did get preeclampsia.
Okay.
And it was around probably about my second trimester where things shifted a little bit. And I can honestly say I didn't know that the end result would be the end result. I knew that there was some caution and there was some things we needed to be alerted on, but I didn't realize that it was as serious as it was until it happened to our family.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, you when it hits you personally, that's when you learn, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, how did you make it through that?
So, lots of prayer.
Right.
Lots of prayer. Lots of family support. I can walk you through those last couple of days if that's helpful to the listeners to understand exactly what happened to me. So my firstborn daughter was stillborn. Mm-hmm. We went to the hospital because I just did not feel movement. I, at that point, had 3 baby showers, a completely decorated and painted nursery.
Bless your heart.
All of her clothes were washed and dressed, and we were a week out from what would be her delivery date. Okay. So didn't feel movement. Went to called the doctor, and she said, "Why don't you head over to the hospital just in case?" She called ahead. We went, and they hooked us up to the machine so that they could hear her heartbeat. And her name was Kennedy. So they continued to do that, and they would blame it on faulty equipment or say, "Let me get this nurse in. She's definitely more specialized, and she can find the heartbeat." And what we later realized is they were stalling us to wait until the doctor could come and
came.
And just give us the worst news any parent could hear. And they told us, "Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat." And
but wait a minute, when you're told that, Miss Heather, is it with compassion? Is it lovingly? Is it kind of just dropped in your lap? I mean,
first it wasn't my doctor; it was the doctor on call.
But why would that happen? Why wouldn't your doctor tell you? I don't get it.
Right. My doctor wasn't working that night, and so it was the doctor on call, and it was there weren't support. It was just, we'll leave you alone for a minute, and then we'll start prepping you to deliver your baby. And at that moment, my mind wasn't even in that space. I was still in shock, and my mind didn't compute, oh my gosh, you have to deliver the baby still. I labored for 26 hours.
Oh my goodness.
It was, I can't even put it into words, just the most traumatizing thing I've ever been through, to know that my baby's no longer living and that I still have to deliver her on the mother-baby unit where there's all of these babies crying, and you can see that it's a girl, it's a boy balloon. It was just horrible to have to leave the hospital with empty arms, to have to explain to those that last saw you pregnant that there's no babies. Just to all the hopes and dreams you had, to just in a second lose all those hopes and dreams you had for your daughter.
I can't imagine you walking into that home that you had already gotten all ready for this baby girl. With
the car seat in the back of the car. You know, all of that was ready to go. We were ready to go. We had planned this. We planned to grow our family, so it was just devastating. And the grieving process was grueling. Culturally, we were not great with the grieving process. We kind of just want to rush everybody through it and say those words, "You're strong."
Yeah.
And that was hard. But for me, I work in the therapy arena, so that was really important that my family, that we attended therapy. We had a devastating loss that we experienced. So I did. I got us into therapy. My husband kicking and screaming, but I made him go too, to start this journey. And still, I knew there was more that I wanted to do. I knew as soon as I started opening up about my story, I just got so many other stories from other women that I never knew experienced it, because it's a silent topic that people kind of get shamed for.
But how did you open up? I mean, how did you open up? What did you do to open up, and then so these other women could come forward?
So it was 7 years after she passed, and I sew, and so I love to sew. I created what we now call angel gowns. So I took my wedding dress out of the closet, and I cut a piece of the fabric, and I stayed up all night, and I made this perfect gown, and I put it on social media. And I said, I wish that Kennedy had something so beautiful to be buried in, because when she was full term, but she was just a small baby. My daughter that's surviving was just as small. So I have 5-pound babies. That's just what my body produces. And so just think about, after losing a child, going into the children's section to find an outfit. It'd be too hard. And so I made this gown, put it on social media, and just nurses everywhere contacted me and said, oh my gosh, we need those at our hospital. Can you make more?
Oh, wow.
And so that's the way I opened up my story, is I started to make these angel gowns, and then I started requesting wedding gowns from folks, and people were shipping me wedding gowns, and I was converting them into burial gowns.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah. The legacy.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. So you're just coming home, and you just got all these gowns just coming at you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and even now we get gowns. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, Say Yes to the Dress.
I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, so Kleinfeld has even started to send us gowns.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so it's been amazing. Not just gowns, but the veils, whatever they have that they can't use anymore on the floor. So it's been great. It's been wonderful to see how much it's grown. We started with the gowns, and now we just initiated a doula program, a community doula program. We built a room in Norfolk General. So here's a fact that folks don't know and aren't aware of. At Norfolk General Hospital, right here in Norfolk, they have an average of 25 stillbirths a month.
A month?
A month. So that's almost a baby a day. And so we put a room in that. We paid $50,000 to put a room in the hospital so that families had a separate space to grieve and process and spend with their baby. And we started to donate these cooling devices. These cooling devices, they originally initiated in Europe. And so we started ordering them from Europe when we first started, and now we order them from the United States. And so what they do is they preserve the body so that it doesn't do the natural death progression. And the baby's able to stay with the mom for up to 5 days. However, with insurance, you're probably being kicked out of the hospital in 2 days. But you're able to, what we call give the gift of time, and it gives the family time to make memories. When you have a stillborn, the only memories you're going to make are those couple days you have in the hospital. Very different from when an adult or an older child dies. You just have those memories from when you were pregnant and then when you deliver up until you're discharged. So it's it's hard to explain, but it's a bassinet, looks like a bassinet, and it's got cooling jets underneath it, and it preserves the body.
Yeah, my daughter is a mortician, so what you're saying is, it's ringing familiar to me. Okay.
Yeah, so we've placed one in every single hospital in Hampton Roads, and we're about to place one in Georgia and Rhode Island in the coming months. So that's been a part of our fundraising. We raise money to provide those in the hospitals, and that's we do an angel ball, which is around Bereaved Mother's Day, and then for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month in October, we do a 5K angel run. And
so how did you pick Georgia, and what was the other state you said?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
I'm originally from Rhode Island.
Okay.
And so I wanted to share some love with my friends and family in Rhode Island, should they need it. And then Georgia, we found a hospital north side, and they average 380 stillbirths a year. So at least one baby a year passes away there, and they don't have any. And so to me, it's wherever the need is. And we've also put them in North Carolina, where in very rural areas where they don't have a lot of resources. So I usually ask our followers who needs one, what hospital, and when they tell me and give me statistics, we aim to fix the problem and try to help out at that hospital.
Now, when you say we, who is we?
So I grew to a team. The gowns, we deliver about 4 gowns a week, and I couldn't keep up with it. I work full time. This is my ministry. I wish I could do this full time, but I don't because we're all volunteer-based at Kennedy's Angel Gowns. And we're a team of volunteers who create the gowns. I have about 75 seamstress who help me take apart gowns and sew the gowns. We meet once a month. We do what's called a sew-in, which is where we meet at a church, and we pray over the gowns, and then we create the gowns. We have some people who do not know how to sew, and they will just take the gowns apart. It takes a village.
Heather, you got me in the studio, and I could just break down at any moment because this is the most glorious story. I have done a whole lot of interviews. I've talked to a whole lot of people, but what you are doing, this is just absolutely heavenly. It's divine. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. It's a labor of love for Kennedy. It truly is.
Oh my! Kennedy is so proud of you.
I believe it. When I started this, it was like just my wedding gown, and it was just this dream and vision I had. And this past year, I got to sit at a table with Kamala Harris and tell my story. She heard my story on a podcast, and it's just been, doors have been opened that I couldn't imagine. So I thank her. I always say that she has her mom and dad doing the work down here, and then she's up in heaven, just bringing the babies in and showing them the ropes. So I'm so thankful for her.
And so you went through that with Kennedy, and then what gave you the courage to try again?
To be honest with you, it was a now or never. I originally wanted a very large family, and what I discovered is my body doesn't do great with pregnancy, because even with my rainbow baby, Riley, and so let me explain that. In the lost community,
yes,
after a stillborn, and if you have another baby, they're called your rainbow baby.
Yes.
And so it's after every storm, there's a rainbow. And so my rainbow baby is Riley, and I tried right away, and I told my husband it's now or never, because I just can't go through this again. And sure enough, I got preeclampsia with her again as well in that pregnancy. So it was a terrifying pregnancy.
So wait a minute. So when you were diagnosed with that again, what did you do? Did you run to your pastor? Did you run to therapy? How many months were you when you learned this? And then how did you make it from that time till delivery date?
Second trimester, we found out again, protein in my urine. My entire family and all of my friends, I think, all just took a deep breath and didn't let it go until they heard her cry. I think everybody held their breath the entire pregnancy, including my doctor. My doctor delivered her at 35 weeks. I lost Kennedy at 36. I think none of us could have went a day past 35.
But so did you do the clothing and the room, and did you do all of that again?
I didn't do any of that. I didn't want to shower. This time it was like, I don't want to do all that.
I just want my baby.
I kept a journal of every kick, everything she did with Riley. I kind of robbed her of that experience because I was just so terrified that it was going to happen again. It's almost like my mommy heart was preparing me for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband did throw me a surprise shower because he felt like, okay, she may pass, but what if she lives? And I'm so thankful that he did that because she did. She lived.
She did.
She's doing amazing. She was 5 pounds too, but she's here and she's such a blessing. She's my miracle.
How old is Riley?
She is 11 years old.
Okay. And what do you tell her about Kennedy?
So it's crazy. The way Riley found out about Kennedy is I was doing a similar radio podcast. It was with Hampton University.
Uh-huh.
She happened to be in the car with my mom, and they were listening, and she said, "Mommy, did I have a sister?" And I was so terrified of that conversation because Kennedy obviously came before Riley. And kids process things very differently. What we thought was going to be this intense conversation, she needed like 2 minutes to know about Kennedy, and she was good with going back and watching TV after. So,
yeah, that's how they are. We look in our minds, in our adult minds, we come up with this. You know, they're going to come to us and say, "Well, how come so and so and so?" And we go in this long explanation in the month, and all we had to say, "Oh, because so and so and so and so," and they're like, "Oh, okay," and go on back to their business.
Yep, she processed that. So she's a baby. In her mind, she's a baby forever, and kind of in my mind too. Like, she's a baby forever. And she said, but she's the older sister. And I said, yes, that's right. And she's an angel and she's watching over us? Yes, baby, that's right. And that was it.
And she was happy and she was done.
That's all I needed to know, because there's all these weird gowns coming in here.
Yes.
You know? This all makes sense now.
Riley says, now I'm understanding, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so now how did your husband know how to be the greatest husband? Because it sounds like he did, because while he's bound and determined, I'm going to take care of my wife, you know, he's going through his own grief.
He is. And it's funny because we always joke, men compartmentalize very different than us. And I think his role was, I have to be strong. And it was something he couldn't fix for the first time in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed in a lot of marriages, because we obviously, with us doing this work, we talk to a lot of families. And a lot of families don't make it through loss. So I think for us, we felt like we're the only two that really know how much this hurts. We've been through every step of this together. And we leaned into that. We leaned on each other. we started with therapy. He was discharged from therapy a lot sooner than I was. He got what he needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I stuck with therapy. And because we, prior to COVID, go into the hospitals and the babies are still in the room with the families when we bring the gowns, I continue therapy because I have to unload this somewhere too. And it's healthy to keep processing it and dump it somewhere. So that's what keeps me going. My church family is phenomenal and supportive. They come to every event. They pray over our program, and they participate too. So having that is very beneficial. Having a praying mama is very beneficial. All of those supports have been great.
But can you explain to us, describe what happens when you go into that room to help these families?
So typically when we go into the room, they're still very much in shock. They're not very talkative. But I leech onto the mom, and my husband leeches onto the husband. Sometimes they'll take a walk and leave us alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell the mom everything she needs to know. I tell her to give grace to herself. I tell her that your body's going to go through all the changes as if your baby was living. So your milk's going to come in a couple of days. All of those things that nobody can touch you.
Mm-hmm.
That was devastating to me that my milk came in and I couldn't feed my baby.
Mm-hmm.
And now I tell them about all the amazing programs that have come out of bringing awareness. There's a program in Norfolk where you can still pump your milk and donate it to babies in the NICU, and they'll give you a necklace with your baby's milk in it, so you have a keepsake.
Oh, okay.
So I let them know about all of the community that's available when they're ready to start the grieving process, all of the awareness and the remembrance that they can bring to honor their baby's legacy. So it's one of those real chats where this is the real deal, but it's also, here's my cell phone number. If you need me, I'm here. And there are some dark days.
What are the testimonies that you get back after you and your husband have done what you do?
They come to our events and they support us and they say, I would not have gotten through this without you. Or sometimes we'll get a call at 11 in the morning and someone just sobbing into the phone. They don't even speak. And they just say, no one will listen to me. My family's telling me to get over it or to move on. And so I just need to cry.
Because it makes the family member uncomfortable and they don't know what to say. So they want you to get over it so they can feel comfortable, which is kind of backwards, but I guess it's human nature. But yeah, that's not the right thing to do.
That's not the answer. Yeah. That's not going to help anyone. Mm-hmm. And so I really do tell families to say their names. Remember your baby. We do that at every ceremony. We read all of the baby's names because when your baby dies that young, you won't have a graduation where their name is read. And so it's a really important part of our ceremony to do that for them and so they can hear their baby's name in it. You can watch in the crowd as their baby's names are read. It's like the proudest moment. So we do. We try to give them anything they can hang on to.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to be working. So
yeah,
my hat goes off to you because I'm just like sitting here. I'm like, this is really, really deep. I mean, what you're doing, I mean, it makes complete sense, but who would have thought of it, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And just for you to go and pull out your wedding gown, because, you know, most people, I've got it stored away and, it's going to be there for, you know, my next 9 grandchildren and all of that. But you didn't hesitate.
We're never going to wear it.
Yeah, right. They're never going to wear it. But you just immediately took that gown and started making gowns.
And so what we do offer some families, because we tell them, you know, they're never going to wear it. We do encourage them to cut a piece off so they can wrap it around the bouquet or make it into one of the pocket squares for a son, so they can have a piece of it before they donate it.
And so one gown will make one gown for the baby? Is that how it goes?
One gown will make 11 to 15 gowns for the babies.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and we double line them. They're beautiful. I'll have to send you some pictures and images, or if you take a look at our website, they're absolutely beautiful. But we because they make so many, we actually don't need any more gowns. We've got about 600 in our storage unit.
Oh, my gosh.
That are waiting to be sewn. At the end of the month, there's a sew-in. I think it's the 26th. It's a Saturday. So anyone's able to volunteer for the sew-in. You don't have to have sewing skills to help us to take the gowns apart or to trace a pattern. So all levels of just those that want to volunteer and help a great cause are welcome to join us.
And I have so many questions. Okay,
Yeah,
so these
good.
these gowns, you have a pattern for them, or you have like 5 different patterns and you keep sewing those 5 different patterns? I don't understand how this works.
So we make gowns for micro preemies all the way to full-born, I guess, up to about 15-pound babies, because we do have babies who die of SIDS after they're brought home, and we do help with those babies as well. So the patterns are, for the really, really micro preemie babies, we do these, they're kind of like small little pockets that they're able to fit in.
Okay.
So some babies, you got to think, they're less than a pound. They're grams. They weigh grams. So just depending on the size. But, yeah, it's a different pattern for each size. And we have male and female gowns. So the boys have a little tuxedo and the girls have the gowns. Each gown is different because every wedding gown that's donated is different.
And, I was wondering about that. I was thinking, what do you do with the little boys? But I was thinking that little boys, I think, sometimes get christened in gowns. So I was thinking that you probably just did gowns for them, but you don't.
We do. Some families do request the christening gown, kind of gown. So we have those available, too, for boys. And, some of the gowns are blinged out for those who, we let them pick what gown is best for their baby. So we'll send them pictures, and they're able to pick which one speaks to them. And some are different colors, because we do use bridesmaids' gowns, too. So it's an array of colors and styles that they can choose from.
And does Riley ever get involved with the gown making or pulling? She does?
Yeah. Well, I've started her, sewing's a lost art.
Yeah,
so
it is. My mom sewed, and I look at her because I don't have because I would watch her. My mom said that when she got pregnant, my dad came home with a sewing machine. So she sewed our clothes when we were growing up, and she tried to teach me how to sew, but I don't have the patience, because if I sew the seam and the seam's not right, I don't have the patience to take it out and redo it and iron it flat. And I don't have the patience. Yeah.
I have Riley in sewing lessons, and I know that sounds crazy.
That's wonderful.
I sew, but I have a gift of sewing. That makes sense. I never knew how to sew from a pattern. I guess my grandma sewed, and it was just something that was passed down. I just know how to sew, and I know how to create. But when the need became larger and I needed people to help, and usually it's older women who help me. They're amazing.
Yep.
Why? Beyond my years, and I love hanging out with them. I learned so much from them. They came to me and they were like, "You need a pattern." So we can't help you without a pattern. And so we did. We came up with the awesome patterns together. And I'm learning to sew from a pattern, which is something I've never done. I just kind of think of an idea and I create it.
That's a gift. That's like when you can, my sister can go to church and hear a song one time and come home and play it, no music. That's a gift. You've got the gift.
Yep. And so for me to teach Riley how to sew, it was hard. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to sign you up for lessons. And so I've got someone working with her to teach her how to sew, but she knows the basics just from helping me out with the angel gowns.
Excellent. And that is a lost art. When Mom passed, I sat there. Everything that I gave somebody, I had to think about it, because I wanted that person to appreciate it. And there was a Black-owned company that would supply us with aids to help me with Mom. And one day, the owner and her daughter came over because she wanted Mom to teach her how to sew. So Mom sat up there and told her what to do, and they're ripping seams out and redoing it or whatever. So when Mom passed, I'm like, you know what? I know who that sewing machine is going to.
Yeah.
And I hear from them every now and then, and they are using it. And that gives my heart so much pleasure.
I love that. I have a similar story. One of my high school best friends was unfortunately murdered, and her mom had a sewing machine, and it's a Bernina. So if you don't know anything about sewing machines, those are like $5,000. And she gifted me with a Bernina sewing machine. I still have it to this day. It's the one I use the most. So they last forever. Mm-hmm. And same thing. A very sad situation, but through that gift, I'm able to bless so many families.
Well, Miss Heather Wilson, you have warmed my heart on this Sunday afternoon. Heather Wilson with Kennedy's Angel Gowns. I hope that you just did not just turn in and hear this and miss this story, because it is absolutely incredible. Well, can you give us the Cliff Notes version once again?
Yes, absolutely. So Kennedy's Angel Gowns was birthed of a passion to help others. I lost my daughter through stillbirth and wanted to help other families that walked my husband and I's shoes. And we started making burial gowns out of donated wedding dresses and donating them to families for free. From there, we created a serene room in Norfolk General to offer the gift of time to families as they walk the journey, and cooling devices to all the hospitals in the Hampton Roads area. And now we continue her legacy by offering 2 events to these families to remember and honor the legacy of their babies as well.
That is a beautiful story, Miss Heather. I thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
How can people find you? Social media handles, website, anything like that?
Yes, our website is www.kennedysangelgowns.org. We're on all social media outlets as Kennedy's Angel Gowns, and you can find us in Google as well.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me the space to share about my daughter.
Not a problem. And hug Miss Riley for us, okay?
Sure will.
Okay, there you have it. That was Heather Wilson. I'm Cheryl Wilkerson. This is Spartan Life Radio.